CIPP's had an update. Let's talk about it. Feels like only last week that we were talking about a CIPP update, but we've been graciously handed another one. This one is called Tokyo Drift, as you can see here. It does have quite a few Fast and Furious puns, the first of which being that we're a CIPP family.
I don't have friends, I got family.
And my first thought was, if we're a CIPP family, that must mean Kelvin's dad. So in this case, dad has given us a new update. Our first thing to talk about, other than all the Fast and Furious puns, which we've done, there's drift management being the big thing of this release. It's like standards plus. We've got the standards with all of our templates and policies that we're applying to our customers, and drift management is the new thing that's helping us monitor and actually remediate those problems when they happen, or if we decide that, you know, the change that's happened, the drift that's occurred, we're happy with, we can choose to ignore or apply a customer specific deviation to that template and leave it there. Another big thing for these release notes is not necessarily anything part of the release itself, but a new sort of documentation video demos that CIPP have started doing. And you can see there's a few links to those here. So we've got 2 here, another 2 links here, and I've got them in tabs, which we can have a look at. So the specific drift one, we've got some feature showcases that you can see here. Same goes for audit, which is further down, and I'll show you when we get there. But I thought worth mentioning now, because if there's anything I say now, or you want a bit more of a in-depth hands-on tutorial, I suggest having a look at those outside of what I show you here. But to get going, drift management, like I said, first one here, kind of read through it in a way, but I'll show you what we've got as well. You can read these notes yourself, but just sort of glancing through it, restore config, remove policies that have been added on accident, or possible drift management. We can receive emails or webhooks. You can set up a template. You can approve, accept, like I mentioned, with deviations, or deny using the portal. When you set up drift management template, start monitoring the environment. Cool. So if we jump into our standards here, so obviously tenant administration, standards, and drift, and then standard management. And if I just open one of these, I'll pick, it's only showing my classic standards at the minute. You'll see here, if you click on the actions, if it's not a drift template, the removed drift and managed drift are grayed out. But if you view the tenant report, it's going to take you to the tenant report page of this standard regardless. And we'll be able to see some of the new things. So no drift data is available. We'll create one of those in a minute and show you that stuff there. But there's also these new UI features, I guess, that have been added to drift and standards and drift, I guess it's called. You've got the policies and settings deployed. So this should list a bunch, but the one I've picked happens to not have any in it. The history of a standard. So let me find a better one. We'll try this one. It's drift, it's going to be empty again, but you can see this drift overview, current deviations, we'll see. Policies and settings, here you go. So 26 security standards are applied to this specific policy, and you can see the status of them, when they were last modified, the category that they're a part of, which is going to mirror typically security standards here. In tune policies, these would be the categories. It's a helpful way to see quickly where there is deviation. None of these are actually applied, so they're all deviating, but we'll pretend it's not that way. If I go to the history, this is a cool big one, is the actual timeline of actions taken on the tenant by CIPP in the last 5 days. So obviously it's only 5 days worth, but it is very handy to see things like that. And if there are errors in this case, you can investigate what that is. There must have been an outage at this point, because obviously it then worked again later. And apparently there's a load more button to show 12 days. So I did not know that. And that updated as well. That's quite cool. So if you scroll down to the bottom, looks like you can load a bunch more. I wonder how long this goes on for. Whoever wants to scroll down repeatedly for the end of days and then tell us how long it goes for, be my guest. But I'm going to stop at 40 days, although that is cool. History, activity timeline, really big thing for me. I've had quite a few different people talk about it, similar to the thing I said last time about tenant alignment reports. This is really handy to see these things here, and the drift is going to be really helpful for the alignment as well as the tenant report, which already existed previously. I think it was just under a report rather than the UI, or it might have been like this as well. I can't actually remember specifically. But nonetheless, let's go back. Let's go to templates. So standards management, just the templates tab. And we'll create a drift template now. So I don't actually have any of these in my instance at the minute, but we'll start creating one here. So gives us a little bit of information about them, remediation options. So automatic remediation immediately reverts unauthorized changes back to the template configuration, and manual remediation sends email notifications for review, allowing you to accept or deny detected changes. I believe this manual remediation one, it says email notifications, but it should still do the webhook as well. So if you want to, in our case, Halo PSA runbook or something, you want to get the alerts directly to the runbook, you can use that webhook URL and then work with it further for whatever needs you want. Same thing goes with included tenants for standards as you would typically do. So I could do all tenants and then exclude my YouTube tenants or something, or I could do it the other way around and only do my YouTube tenants and exclude demo tenants or something, right? Give it a name, so drift. So if we add a standard to the template, and I'm just going to double check what Kelvin's added previously. So disable exchange online and demark. If I do that one and demark, it's going to give us a couple of good examples. And default sharing link settings. Cool. I wonder actually, there's some new ones, so let's check that. We'll have a quick look at these as well while we're there. So if we hit the little drop down on a standard, we can see there's an automatically remediate or deploy when drift is detected. And if we tick that, we know that automatic remediation is going to happen. It's going to immediately revert unauthorized changes back to the template configuration. So effectively, the same as a standard, it's going to remediate and apply that immediately for us. We can hit save on that, and it's going to configure it for us. And then when I save the template, it's obviously then going to apply to these tenants. So that's I guess a key difference between standards and drift templates. You'll notice that there's no schedule. They will run when detected, effectively. Detection, unauthorized, remediated. Pretty straightforward, rather than, once a day or whatever it's set to for the scheduler. The next one here, so demark in this case, the reason he's picked it is because of this drop down. So it's to show off, obviously, selecting a drop down. If we don't hit this switch, it will instead report, and it will send us an email, or if we have configured an alert webhook, or both, and that will tell us any information about it. We can come back in here and decide whether or not we want to accept or deny those changes for that customer or for the policy as a whole. Similar here, default sharing link, we can select the type, so either internal or only, and then we can enable it to always set it to internal only. And outside of that, I'll save that one as well. These are the two new ones that we've got. So if you're unaware, we'll go back to the release here. There's some things. One of them mentions standard. So that one mentions a standard and the other one mustn't be mentioned as a standard. So I'll ignore that. But in this case, if it's listed here and you're not sure, or you're not sure in general, you can come to standards.cip.app, new equals true, or just click the new button here, and it will show us the two new standards that are applied to this specific release. And you can see that there's the set SharePoint and OneDrive file requests as per this one here, or additionally the complete authentication methods policy migration, which I definitely saw somewhere. I won't spend too long looking for it. Let's Control F again. So I'm going to assume that's it, but nonetheless, check the standards.cip.app website for some more information about new standards. So if the last thing you do, or the minimal thing that you do for each SIP release is come here and check if there's a new one that applies to you, do that, because that's helpful nonetheless to keep your standards up to date and any new features that might be beneficial for your business. But of those two standards, they're both here. So we can enable or disable file requests, allowing you to create secure upload only links, sets the maximum number of days for the link to remain active. So yeah, I guess you could configure link expiration if you want that to be a set time, or if you don't want them at all, you can turn it off, that sort of thing, and enable this to drift management if you so please. Same goes for authentication policy migration, and that one you can just monitor drift. There's no additional settings. So pretty straightforward on those. And that's pretty much it for drift. I wanted to show the actual drift information itself. So can we pull that up? Let's have a look-see. Okay, so I've got a drift template configured now, and I just want to show you what the drift management page sort of looks like. We've already seen the other three. Previously, this was just no data, but I've got one working and ready now. If I open this one as an example, you can see sort of more information about the template that's applied to this drift standard drift template itself, description of it, its expected value, its current value, and whether or not it is a deviation as an example here. If I hit the actions, I get 3 options in this case. Accepting the deviation for this specific customer. I can accept the deviation for the policy as a whole, so this is allowed to happen in future for this policy, and I can deny the deviation where it essentially will fix this for us as soon as I hit that button. So in this case, I will deny this. I'm going to say PowerShell shouldn't be needed for non-admin users. And because I'm special, I'm going to change that S because it's going to annoy me. I'll hit confirm. That loads. It says it's successfully set the drift deviation status for standards. I'm really going to mess up a lot of these words. Drift deviation. I did it right the second time, to be fair. This one here is a conditional access template, which I've set. The name probably could be a bit improved there, but for whatever reason it's showing like that. That's going to be the specific GUID of the template I selected, I guess. And same thing here. I can accept the deviation customer specific for the whole policy. I can remediate it to align with the template, or I can delete the policy as a whole if I just don't think it should be applied anymore, or there's a change in the future, or whatever the case may be. In this case, I'm going to accept it because I just have decided I want to. Interestingly, it says mandatory and it wasn't in that case, but I wonder if that applies for denied deviations as well. Let's open this one and we'll remediate it and ignore that. Interesting. Maybe I'll get in and sneakily do my my first update to the repo. But that's how that works. Obviously, in this case, it's going to show us accepted deviations, customer specific. There would be one for the whole thing, and denied deviations here, as well as current deviations if there's any outstanding. And I think if I set this to delete, wonder what that's going to do. It's just going to, I don't know, it's going to say it's denied, and then obviously it won't exist anymore in that policy specifically. But that is the big piece of the cake for this release note anyway, for standards and drift. The next thing on my list was the audit logging. So it kind of looks like a small release, but obviously, as you've seen so far, there's a lot of stuff in it. And like I mentioned, there's 2 more of those demos here. And what Kelvin said is Microsoft's audit logging is the formats they use. Weird places, underscores, entry logging of GUID, username, blah, blah. Improve that, enrich the data in the audit logs with CIPP versions. CIPP username 100% guaranteed to be actual username, so that's good. So effectively, they're filtering on the different types of audit logs and putting it into its own sort of, I guess, CIPP custom field on that side of things, and making it a lot better. So if I go to this tab, I can see it's obviously under tenant administration audit logs. And I've got a list of saved logs. So specifically, let's look at this one. If I hit the 3 dots and then view log, I can see more information about this log as a whole, what it's sort of done. So actions taken in this case, the webhook rule, and the big sort of improvement here is the audit data itself. So things like, where is a good example? Object ID will be the expected one. I'm not seeing any of the specific fields, but effectively this data here is going to be more consistent with what you would expect, rather than all the different types of things that you would see typically in the logbook from different parts of the Microsoft UI. There's obviously search options in here, and you can do a full log search too if you wanted to by using the new search button here, and all of the different information that you want to try and filter by can be done here. Like I said as well, there's these 2 demo videos that you can go through and look at some more information or get a bit more of a hands-on with it by clicking through with this new thing that CIPP have done now. Other than that, I think that's pretty much all I wanted to say. We've got, obviously this line here is talking about the history that I showed you under standards management. There was one thing I remember wanting to say. Oh, yep. So as per usual, Christian has updated the Microsoft licenses again 3 times, I think. Yep. Yeah, 3 times. So keep an eye on him. I think we might start a Christian update license counter or something for these release notes, and I think I'd have to check the last one, but we're probably at like 5 at this point, and it's only been 2 videos, so that's enough. A fun one. I guess it's called chore for a reason, right? So the other one that I wanted to list, and these ones are all just in these what's changed, kind of like less impactful, or times very impactful, but less of a big feature and more of like a fix or a small addition. The other one would be the bulk add mailbox permissions, which is here, where Zach has enhanced mailbox permission modification and bulk request tracking. So we can now bulk add mailbox permissions, which is very, very handy, to say the least. And I think that is all I really wanted to talk about today. Yeah, there's obviously, like I say, normally go and have a look at this if you've got any real interest in deep diving into different commits yourselves. If there's anything interesting you want to tell us about this release that you've found yourself, you've noticed, or you just want to talk to someone and you're a bit lonely, let us know in the comments and we'll go from there. I will see you probably next week for another release.